It is 6:33, and I call this meeting of the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union Board to order at, I already said the time. Are there any changes, any additions to the agenda?
Just have one request as an item for action. We are requesting that the board lift the vaccine mandate for our employees.
Okay.
We're still technically mandating the vaccine.
I have a question. With the flag, was that for Mount Stepney, or is that for this?
Well, we're talking about it being policy, so I think that the first place to
Okay.
was to discuss it as policy per board district agreement would start at the SU level, so it would apply to everybody. And it's, at this point, I don't even think it's a first reading necessarily, but, just sort of opened that up for discussion to be on front of the game of this issue. Okay, so
We're just doing.
Are you gonna let me in?
I just did.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
no. Any other changes to today's agenda?
Doesn't look like I'm in.
Okay, so did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from? I have it here. I don't even have it. Print it out. Yes, thank you. Are there any questions, concerns with the agenda?
Good to me.
Yeah, they were very straightforward. Accept the motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any other discussion? Let me get ready for my round the house here. I'm in. So we'll start with online. Colleen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Davis?
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
And I am an aye.
Megan.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I welcomed you. So that is approved. And public participation. I just opened that up. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in. Do we have anybody who has a public comment?
Behind the
Be
door.
it in front or behind? Yes,
May I sit at the table?
you must certainly come up here so that we all can
I appreciate
see
it.
you. You're very
They
welcome.
sit next to me, tell
Thank
me.
you, Nancy. I have something I'd like to read. It will take me less than 3 minutes,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll be done. I want to say a few words about equity, which has become a kind of mantra for school board members and their hired consultants the past couple of years. It is important, I think, for parents to understand that equity is not about everyone having an equal opportunity to succeed. Our schools already provide that, as they should, with the help of IEPs, 504s, MTSS, anti-discrimination laws, as well as good teachers and support staff. Equity is different. It means everyone has a successful outcome. Proponents say it just means giving everyone what he or she needs to succeed, but the way they measure that is the success rate. That's the measuring stick. Of course, we all want students to have what they need, but in case after case, the tools employed in equity's name don't work, and they often make things worse. Under an equity approach, it is almost always the system that is responsible when a student has trouble finding success. Depending on the student's identity category, it is the fault of systemic racism or white supremacy culture or the patriarchy or cis heteronormative society or colonialism or capitalism or some other ism. Too often in this scenario, the student comes to believe that he or she is not a unique human being with individual worth and agency, but simply part of an oppressed group being held back by forces beyond the student's control, perhaps beyond anyone's control. So why bother? And this is the point at which the equity train goes off the rails, because schools and colleges then start trying to manufacture desired outcomes by manipulating existing conditions, dumbing down or shrinking or decolonizing the curriculum, grading on a curve, making homework optional, getting rid of AP classes, not maintaining boundaries or providing discipline when it comes to bad behavior, eliminating college entrance exams, hiring staff or accepting students based on identity quotas instead of merit, and the list goes on. There are numerous examples of these things happening right now in schools and colleges around the country. Numerous examples of the negative outcomes that result. My guess is that the majority of WSESU board members are not seeing these stories in their news and social media feeds. In support of the claims I've made here, I'm going to email board members a document called Who Benefits from Equity. It has 30 pages of examples of equity gone wrong in K through 12 schools and in colleges. I encourage board members, staff, and parents to take a look. And I thank you for the time.
Thank you for your time.
And my name is Tony Picrominos. I live in West Windsor. I've been a public librarian for 20 years, and I was librarian at Albert Bridge School for 7. And I had 2 kids in the school system. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your time.
I appreciate you.
Any other public comments? Okay, administrative report.
Great. All right, we have some guests tonight that are going to be helping with my report. Just get it. Here. There it comes. All right. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about tonight, this came up at a meeting, I think the last SU board meeting, there was a parent with concerns about cell phones in school. It's been a concern of a lot of teachers, parents, administrators, even students. We noticed that cell phones are becoming a big distraction in classrooms, and we also know that social media does not support good mental health in our children. So I sent out a survey to staff, students, parents to get some input. What we're thinking about is a no cell phones on your out in school. And that was the question that I asked. Some of you probably filled out the survey, but I'm going to share the results. It's very brief. I wasn't too surprised by the results. Okay, let's see, here we go. So the first section is the staff and parent responses. We had a very good response to the survey. 454 people took the survey. And as you can see, 72% of those were parents of those 454 responses, and 27.5 were staff members. Students I did separately.
Christine, do you mind putting it on presentation mode?
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry about that.
Yeah, no.
So you can see it?
Yes, I can see it, yeah.
You got it, okay. So of the staff and parents that took the survey, 85% of those support a no cell phones out in school approach, as I described in the header of the survey. I did pull, there were a lot of comments. I pulled some common themes. There were many people that expressed that they would like to have their student have a little bit of time during the day to check phones for after school plans. I mean, I think society has changed. You used to call the office and the office would send a message to the classroom. That we find that doesn't happen anymore. Parents are texting their children all day long, some parents. So there was an ask for a designated time during the day for students to be able to check their phones. Some parents really want their children to have their phone on them somewhere in a backpack or pocket in case of an emergency, and those are the times we live in. There are a lot of comments about school safety, school shootings. Parents want their children to have phones on them in case of an emergency. And I will say, it's often what we read is not helpful for parents to be texting during an emergency, but that's I think it's a feeling of safety for people. There were asks about consideration for students with 504 medical needs, and obviously we would support those needs, and there may be plans that look different for certain kids. Some parents had concerns about phones being confiscated, because I did say if a student decides to take their phone out, it would be confiscated for the day. So we have to wrestle with that, figure out what to do about that. We may just call parents and say, come get the phone, because it could be a liability for us to hold the phone if something happens to the phone.
Yeah.
So we've been told. And some people felt that this would be a really difficult change for teachers to manage, and that is absolutely 100% correct. We're having difficulty managing it now. So those were the comments. Those were the common themes from the comments from staff and parents. Next were the students, 194 responses. Not quite split equally, but middle school and high school. Those are the biggest users we find, although it is getting, we are finding students at younger ages are having phones. So it's just about opposite. 82.5 of the kids do not want this approach, and 17.5 were in support of it. And some of their common comments or themes from their comments were similar to the parents. They'd like to have their phones in case of an emergency. They'd like to have access during lunch or recess, or if their work is done. We know that once you give an inch, they take a mile.
Mhm.
So it's really a slippery slope when I would say, especially when you allow it when work is done in the classroom. I would not support that. It just opens up Pandora's box. Some students were concerned that not allowing kids to have their phones in school will lead to outbursts for kids that are in opposition to this procedure. Some students said they like to be able to use their phones for music while they're working. Some said they offer a sense of security, and some felt that using phones in school really prepares them for being adults, because adults we know in the workplace have phones. So I thought that was a pretty good point. So those are the results. The administrative team, we've looked at these preliminarily. We're going to dive into them. We have a full day meeting after school gets out and make some decisions, but I can say preliminarily, the administrators in K-8 are really not in favor of having phones out at all during the day. I think at high school, there was a little, Kate felt like they could be responsible at lunch if their phones were accessible during that time of the day. So that's where we're at. We'd love your thoughts. Do you have any?
They're one-on-one
Yes.
for the devices now, for Chromebooks.
Yep.
I just want to point out Hartford, it's K-8, no phones,
No phones.
so.
Yeah, this is a hot topic all over the
Yeah.
state. I'm getting questions from other superintendents. What are people doing with cell phones? If you have any procedures in place, please share them because it's a struggle. What do they do at the high school, Bill? Do you know? No, okay.
It's, they treat them like young adults.
So they're allowed to use them?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it would be helpful to find out how other schools are responding to that. I remember when I was at Claremont, a business teacher would have them put
Yeah.
phones in pockets. She was pretty clear about how it would interfere with their work, and, I mean, it was not a matter of like, you just can't, she really spoke to them around, we need this time to like really focus, and that's gonna distract. She's really good about helping students understand the value of them being there. It's not like she was taking them away, I mean, so she really did a nice job. But it didn't work with all of the classes.
No, we've got the same thing going on.
And that's, yeah, I don't, gosh, it's.
Yeah.
And it's, and your policy has always been to, up until now, what has been your policy?
We don't have a policy, we have procedures,
Mhm.
and I think, the intention was a reminder from the staff member to put the phone away, and then on a second reminder, the phone, Kate would deal with it, and she would, there's stepped consequences, so you'd lose your phone for the day, if you did it again, you'd lose your phone for 2 weeks. But honestly, I think, to be quite frank, teachers are tired of battling it, and some have just let it go. So that's just the reality. It's not anything negative against any teachers. It's really
I
hard.
understand that.
So there are some that are just really asking for something more clear that we're all consistent with. Because
So it sounds like the teachers really do want some sort of brains brought in.
many do, and some use them as a tool in their classroom. So it's not 100%.
So at the high school level, what are the high school teachers' thoughts?
They're split.
Okay,
That's the group I'm talking about.
okay.
Some want them gone and some use them as a tool. And I think the inconsistency is hard for kids.
Mm.
So they can use them in some classes and not in others. And, it creates a divide, but.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I may be in the minority, but I have an 8th grader who does not bring a phone to school. And, there are times that I was like, oh, it'd be nice if I could text him, whatever, I'll call. And it really hasn't been an issue. And they're not distracted in school. I can always call. If he has a question, I get phone calls. Like I used to get phone calls from you guys all the time. And now the school's number rings and it's just him like, hey, what am I doing after school?
Yeah.
It really is not an issue. And it makes me feel really good that he's capable of handling himself without having me tied to him. I feel like it's really good to just get rid of him K-8.
Yeah. On the flip side, the grade levels, my daughter Sarah came to me. She was a junior in high school and said, Dad, I need $1,000 for a graphing calculator. I'm like, you don't just spend $1,000 for an iPhone. She goes, oh, good point.
Yeah.
I mean, that,
Can be a tool.
it was a tool.
Tracks calculator.
Yeah, I know, but she didn't need a graphing calculator in her high school. Trigonometry class. She needed it.
The phone, for me and my granddaughter is important.
It's that safety net.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, anxiety.
I think we're at kind of a difficult, and we've been at, we're at a difficult cultural moment with this because I thought some of the student observations were pretty on point, The proliferation of personal devices in every part of life for so many grown functioning adults, in the workplace, out of the workplace. My phone helps me be able to work from home and kind of stay on call if I need to go do something. Like there's all of these benefits to having that kind of connectivity. There are also a lot of downsides, right? And I think it's another consequence of just living in this era where technology is just constantly outpacing itself and we always are trying to play catch up. I think that I think K through 8 for me is like a no-brainer just because when we think about development, particularly in those younger years, I mean, the presence of that kind of distraction really worries me. And I think, I don't know. It's something I'm pretty split on because I tend to, I have the more hardcore part of my brain just wants to be like, we survived the 90s. We had cell phones, like, it was like 5 people and they were texting like on weekends. But, the paradigm's shifted on this stuff. I think that a policy where there was some mitigated access for high school age students makes sense. I generally think that in educational settings, we have devices that we can provide for students to do a lot of what I imagine you would do on a personal device. And it also could present an access issue if, and I'm not assuming teachers haven't thought of this. I'm sure they've planned this out and they're doing this in a responsible way. But if you're relying on students having personal devices and you have students in your classroom setting who do not have those personal devices, it can create an imbalance there. So I think relying on the technology provided by the school for that kind of stuff makes more sense to me. 14 to 18-year-old students during break time, if they need to catch up on messages. I understand some students do have jobs, they have responsibilities. It's the way that they connect with the outside world and function. I totally understand and appreciate that. I think having some more guardrails up on this makes a ton of sense.
Thank you, that's helpful.
What if we just sidestepped the policy and provided funding for individual classrooms to get signal jammers?
To get what?
Signal jammers. And that way, when they go out into the hallway, they cost about $300 just as a cursory Google search. But
And the teachers would really use them.
Then, there's safety concerns of.
Yeah.
We use,
We do,
we,
in emergency
in
situations.
emergencies, we use cell phones.
Right,
Good
but
bunch
wouldn't
of
the teacher
teachers.
have control of that? I'm just trying to be,
One more step, and if
right.
we're putting an all-call out because of whatever we're doing on that all-call with that the teachers use, they wouldn't know to turn it on or off.
It's complicated.
But I, that's one interesting.
Nice
I
idea.
wrote it down,
Yeah.
wrote it down, Elizabeth. We'll look into that.
We have some folks online who've had their hands raised for a while.
I'm sorry.
Jamie
How
Colleen.
many emergencies do we get every year?
Well, we lock down the schools sometimes, or,
Jamie Turner? I don't know who raised their hand first.
I think it's in the order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So I work at a hospital, and when we did our active shooter training, we were told as employees that we had to turn off our devices for safety. So I'm just curious, when schools are taught active shooter training, what the rules are for that.
we have, well, Larry's working on it. Is that phone dependent, Larry? The Google, chat?
That would only be for teachers.
Right.
Right, so, but it's phone and computer.
So they could access it on their computers?
Yeah.
Okay,
But their phone has Wi-Fi connectivity, doesn't it? Okay, so this emergency is an email blast or?
it's similar.
It's very
It's-
similar.
Yeah, it's very similar, just pushing out information. So, no, Jamie, we weren't told that, but I
We
can look
weren't
into
told to
that.
turn off cell
Yeah.
phones from.
From Alice.
Right, from Alice. But certainly it's a good question to ask.
Colleen?
Well, now I'm interested. What's the theory behind turning off phones for safety?
So the thought behind it is if you're hiding and you have a phone that
rings or dings or whatever, then the active shooter will know where you are.
Thank you. That makes it make more sense. Most of my question was covered, and I was interested in what was happening today in school. How do you see this policy helping or hurting or changing things in the classroom for the younger kids? I mean, is it still going to be a problem to get the kids to put their phones away?
I think from what I hear, K-8, it's not so bad. High school is where it's the most challenging.
Oh.
So I think it's making sure that we're sending a consistent message and sticking to it together and supporting each other in doing that.
Right. Good first step.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be easy. I think there will be, if we say no cell phones out in class, if that's where we land, I think we'll get pushed back for a bit.
Hudson?
I just want to echo, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I just want to echo what Davis, like K-8, I don't think cell phones are necessary at all. But high school, like, I use my phone academically a lot. I'm going to be honest. Taking pictures of notes on the board, I use it as a scanner. Like, so not having access to that would be kind of an adjustment. But I understand, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think that mitigating access is important, but just coming up with a consistent message.
Yeah.
Can I, if I may?
Sure.
If we did have classroom blockers, you could still have your phone, use it as a scanner, use the camera.
What about the Wi-Fi though?
You'd have to wait till class is over.
Then I wouldn't be able to send the thing I need to my computer to edit the document.
You'd have to wait until later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'd like to push back just a little bit. I'm not really pushing back, but I'm going to bring up a point, something that Hudson and Davis sort of to round that up, in which the educational setting that we're really going for in a high school, in which a teacher is a manager of students, not the harbinger of the information. They're there to manage the students. And I'd be curious to see, some of the objections of teachers. How does that compare to the teaching style of those that use devices as a tool? So that's kind of my sort of pushback, in which, if there's a teacher who doesn't really want to have cell phones, there's quite possibly a blocker, maybe a good tool for them to click on when it's time for the students to focus on one thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Doesn't necessarily be it all the time, or just the simple fact that there comes a time in which you have to begin to let loose of control and allow students to become engaged in the environment, in the technology that they're comfortable with.
Also realizing that not everybody has a cell phone.
Exactly, yes. Yeah. Rebecca and then Nancy.
Thank you. I think that, because someone had commented on that it prepares them for the role, world of being an adult. I think that, I know that the workplace has changed, but in the world of adults, if you're in a meeting, your focus should be on whatever is going on at that meeting. I think that cell phones would be an interruption. It will be a distraction. And so I think that whatever you decide to do, one is, I hope that the message is not coming only from administration, but that it can be a message from parents also, because clearly they are expressing some concerns and views about how to move forward. But it, you know, the other piece is that students may have to understand that right now, that the decision falls in a way that is, well, they may not see both sides to that. And I think that this is an important lesson for them and for the school also, because, but it is, you know, there are two sides. And I just hope that when the decision is made, that it's brought forth with administration, parent support, and it can be presented to students in a way where, and shared, and where there is that sort of communication. It's not just said, this is the policy, this is what you're gonna do, you know, but it becomes
That
a
never
shared
works.
conversation. Right, that never worked, but it becomes a shared conversation.
Yeah. Definitely.
I wanted to ask Hudson, well, first of all, thank you. It never occurred to me how phones could be used in a classroom. And I think that's something that parents need to know, because we don't use phones that way, but students do, some of the students. But Hudson, do you have any classes in which a teacher asks you to ask the class as a whole to put them away?
It's usually individual students, but if you like a teacher starting an assignment, he'll say, hey, can you please put your phones away, like at the beginning of class, but that's really it. Another brief thing about the blockers is that would block non-school owned devices, which would become an issue for people who that use their own devices for other reasons. Something to take in consideration.
First, before we go on, I want a technology question here. Larry, does students' own devices, can they connect to the Wi-Fi or not?
Students, Hudson, are you talking about like seniors who bring a MacBook instead of the Chromebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would connect via the public Wi-Fi.
But would that blocker block the computers too?
Some blockers are like a Faraday cage where they don't allow anything. And then some only would block cell towers. Some would only block 802.11n or AC wireless. So it depends on the device, I'm assuming.
Okay.
Because one of the issues at Hartford that they had, that you kind of have to let go, is that, you know, if students log into the Wi-Fi, they can, but their device is then controlled by our filter, which, you know, can shut down X, Y, and Z. But we can't stop students who have
cell towers.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think, and this has been a really great discussion. I don't want to drag it out too much longer, but I think, you know, Hudson, I appreciate you chiming in a couple times in this. I think that really underscores why it's so important to have student representation on this board and on our local boards, because, you know, we don't have that kind of insight into the kind of workflow that students currently are using their devices for. And I know as one of a couple, you know, token millennials on this board, like I see some of that. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, like in my everyday work environment, it's a tool that I use all the time. I have the scanner thing. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I use that too. You know, there are a lot of functional deployments of handheld devices that we constantly rely on. So in as much as I think that there should be some mitigation, I also wonder if there's a way that you know, administration could do some sort of study of functional use of handheld devices, and maybe whether it's a way that students can use their personal devices, if there was a way to maybe in a classroom setting where the instructor wanted that to be allowed, if there was, you know, either budget or grant funding to get some devices that could be like handed out to students who may not have them. If we're talking about functional, you know, workflow stuff. I think it's something, just to echo what Rebecca was saying, it's something that's worth worth some consideration and discussion. I think we're at a good starting point on it. But I definitely, it's one of those things where it's easy to run the risk of just saying like, it's a distraction, get rid of it. And that's not the paradigm we're in right now. I mean, it really is. There are a lot of really great advantages to having handheld devices that we can use to enhance our workflow and enhance our instructional capability in education, but they also come with a lot of distraction. So
Yeah,
it's
so,
a tough needle to thread.
well, it sounds like we've got K-8, we're pretty much in agreement. They don't need phones, but high school, we need to figure out what makes sense.
But I think the K-8 needs to, because kids do feel connected nowadays, so K-8 needs to be able to call home.
Yeah.
And I think, in the last year, and I don't know if it's because of 8th grade or if it's post-pandemic, but my son feels more comfortable calling home than ever before. And it hasn't been too much. I don't think it's interrupting his education or anybody else's. But I don't know if it's the teacher, if it's the grade, or what. But previously, I never got phone calls, and he was very lost at other points. And so I need to if kids and parents are connected, and if a kid is feeling lost, that we need to make sure that teachers, we're getting rid of cell phones. You need to allow these kids access when they need it.
Yeah.
And then for the high school, in a basket, teachers can decide.
And some do. It's really that it's really hard to manage.
Oh, yeah.
And so there
I
are kids
agree.
using their phones appropriately, and there are kids playing video games in the back of the room.
Right.
That's just the reality.
And we know there are kids taking pictures.
And
of
there are
other
kids taking
too,
pictures
right?
and
Yeah.
sending videos and,
Uh-huh.
so.
Yep.
So more to come, but I appreciate
Yeah.
your insights on that. I will, I'm bringing 2 procedures every month. I don't know if anybody, noticed them in the portal or not, and that's okay. We don't have to, I made a copy of the volunteers and work study students because I made a couple of changes on this one that aren't reflected in the portal. And the other one I'm bringing to you is a super easy one, drug and alcohol testing for transportation employees, because that is taken care of by our transportation company. So we don't really have to comply with the federal regulations because they do with their drivers. So that one's pretty straightforward. I worked with our transportation company on that. I wish I'd called him first because I tried to write out all these procedures and he said, we do that. So that one's easy. And the other one is procedures for volunteers and work study students. It follows the policy. It just clarifies what those roles are and what forms of fingerprinting or criminal record check needs to happen when you're volunteering in the school, not supervised by a school staff member.
When they're fingerprinted, did they have to pay themselves?
No, I believe they do not. Tina can concur or unmute and correct me if I'm, yes, good. So you can peruse that. I'll go on because we took a long time on the cell phone, but we can come back to that. And if you have questions, we can talk about it. Katie's gonna take the next slide. It'll be brief.
Very brief. So,
It's part of a policy. We have to bring this information to the board.
check the box for doing it. Rule 4500, which is restraints and seclusions. We have 10 total in the SU this year to date, spread across the buildings. Which is super small. Just want to put that out there. That's minuscule, and it's fairly. Some of those restraints were just escorts when someone wasn't extra happy and because they were really resistant, they needed walking to a place and went. The exclusions were really brief, very. So trained staff, we have 6 SU-wide trainers. So meaning those people train, we did a train the trainer program. So 6 of our staff who are embedded within the school, some float, some don't. Like one, for example, is always at Albert Bridge. Which has been incredible because then we always have someone to check, someone who's in the building, and which we have found we've now reduced everything. So Weathersfield has a total of 8 staff, Heartland has a total of 7 staff trained, Windsor's 12, and that is just K-8. Nobody at the high school is, and that's okay because that actually was mostly what our habit was before anyway. And Albert Bridge has 3. And then plus, I know that looked like a little number, but that also has one embedded trainer in the school as well. So yeah, there you go.
So can you remind us, how did you get so many trainers? I don't people, for the most part, I'm sure people here and on the call don't understand how really amazing that is. To
I
have
asked.
6 trainers.
I asked
There's a lot of
nicely.
logistics in planning it.
Okay.
It's a few gray hairs here. So one of the reasons we went to safety care, and I think I did explain this before to refresh, it is a much more consent-based approach that is less invasive than CPI in many people's opinions. So the other is CPI has become extraordinarily expensive, quadruple what it costs us for, and not sacrificing any crisis prevention intervention, which is our former model. We're starting to see many schools move over to safety care, and because of that, the cost savings, we were able to train more staff because we really felt strongly that we wanted, one of our preventative measures is to have more fidelity in implementation and understanding of what this really should look like. And that's why our numbers are really that low. So that's why, and I really just asked. And people said, can I? And they took the 3 days and they did it. It really was wonderful.
Great staff. Great staff,
Yeah,
that,
and
you know, when you ask and
it
with
is,
all that they're doing, that they're saying, you know.
and it's split between 2 support staff, the 2 school-to-home coordinators, and 2 BCBAs. That got 6, yeah. Which, so it was, you know, a nice representation of folks.
Do you think that the change from CPI to safety care has played a role in decreasing? Okay, that's great.
Both emphasize verbal de-escalation a lot. Safety care does it in a different way. And also we've had a real shift. I would love 0. That's my,
Of course, yeah.
I impart that to others. That if we're moving to the way of not intervening and what we can wait out for kids, it also, I will share, did make us revisit what the intent and why we were supposed to, what the rule says. And that was very deliberate, and we're gonna continue. We embedded that also in the training, and that has helped.
No, I think having been trained in CPI and COMP, which is another intervention system, I mean, they're pretty kitchen sink, and there is a lot of focus in the training on the nonviolent physical intervention. So it's good to hear that there's an alternative approach that's shown some good results.
And last thing, we did do a whole training offered up to 6 hours for any staff to do the verbal only. And we're going to continue to do that next year. I'm strongly believe that not everybody should know the physical intervention. The more who know where you don't oversight, the more misuse. It's just numbers. But the verbal piece is really important. We had many support staff take us up on that and further take us up on the afternoon for the follow-up. So that was pretty cool.
So this isn't used in high school, is that?
We did not have, so we don't mandate who, we can't tell people they have to go do this. If you're hired as a behavioral interventionist, that's part of the job, and we talk about that. Generally in high school, we can call somebody. We've got plenty of staff who are in the building and they are called, but much bigger adults size people. And so, and this year just happened to be, and actually last year too, I think there might have been only 1 staff person last year was CPI trained. We tend not to, and that's okay. We have the staff in the building, which is great.
All right, one last slide in my report, and Tina is going to share out what she's been working on.
Thanks, Routine. So I really got on this bandwagon of trying to grow your own, teaching staff from within, because we have a lot of support staff that have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, that we think would make, possibly excellent teachers. We're going into a teacher shortage. We're definitely feeling that in our hiring now. So in an effort to try to stopgap it and then create a feeder program that is constantly helping us promote a internal growth system, I put together a survey to see if there was any interest within the SU to both help me work on this initiative, as well as interest in possibly being part of this initiative. And so that interest survey was sent out, and I received 57 responses total. All of them were positive. It was actually really nice to see a mix of support staff and teachers, current teachers. Of those 57, 32 were support staff, and the blue and red on this chart represent high levels of interest in participating in this program. So we had 37.5% say they were very interested and wanted to do it. The other 43.8% said possibly if it would work with their schedule, meaning that work-life balance that makes it very difficult for them to go back to school, right? And get what they need to get certified. So I ended up putting out another feeler to see who would like to join the committee with me, and we formed that committee. I have 11 people. It's comprised of staff, support staff, teachers, administrators, central office folk, as well as a board member, so that we have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of stakeholders involved in helping to grow this. So it's a community-based program, as well as, we needed that commitment from the top down. So with that, we had our first meeting 2 weeks ago, and we discussed funding sources, brainstorming, educational avenues, possibly doing collegiate partnerships so we could offer coursework in-house that could help them so that they don't have to travel. I also sent out a survey regarding what current education programs and tracks our staff are currently on, to kind of give us an idea of who they're already working with, what their goals are, where they see that they want to go. And from there, we said we would touch back. We have our next meetings tomorrow, and we're going to discuss avenues for education, criteria for this program, and the education survey results, because I do have those as well. So that's kind of where we're at. We're just really getting it off the ground. But so far, it's got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of momentum. And I think it could do a really amazing thing for our community as well as our schools.
Big shout out to Tina for leading this
Yes.
effort.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you have a quick question?
I have a comment, Tina. There is funding, if the state budget passes, there's funding for Grow Your Own at like 100%. They started it with nursing and medical personnel. Anybody who worked anywhere in a hospital could advance their education with like full tuition payment. And now they are extending it to education.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's going to make a world of a difference.
Try the budget to pass. Yeah, we just need the budget to pass. But I'll see if I can find where it is in the budget so I can send you a description.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you.
This is an aside, but somewhat related. This just prompted me to think about it. We have several foreign educated teachers in our communities. And the ones I've talked to are interested in teaching again, but feel like the hurdles are too big. And I don't know, I've heard the state has made it easier for foreign educated teachers to get certified here. But I throw that out there, not to start a new initiative right now, but like if we were to understand what the loopholes were, then we could send those foreign educated teachers to you guys, and only one person would have to do all the research on how to make it happen. There's actually, they had a bill about that this year, so I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
There is definitely, I know a few of them. So in my talking to the AOE about it, some of it is just a transcript review. They have to see what that foreign college offered to see if it aligns with the requirements of the endorsement. Sometimes they can get a provisional and then they would just have to finish out a few extra courses, or, you know, maybe they don't have a praxis exam in a different country. They might have to take it here, but we do have some avenues. It's just a matter of like what their, you know, what their area of specialty is. You know, like I happened to meet a community member a couple weeks ago at the job fair who taught English in Japan to Japanese speaking students, and then is now teaching Japanese to English speaking students at a private school in the state of Vermont. And she really wants to get back into public school. So it's like, but she feels that she doesn't want to teach English to English speaking students, you know, so, but she can only speak Japanese. So like so for her, it's like trying to find a good, you know, niche that she could do with her skill set and her background, right? So sometimes it's getting creative with what their degrees allow them to do.
Yeah.
As long as everyone understands that the state of Vermont is multiple months behind.
Yeah.
Licensing.
Yeah, I think everybody that I've talked to, including the parent that you're talking about, initially said, no, there's no way, it's too hard. And to me, it'd be nice to just say, go talk to this person.
Yeah.
Send them to you, Tina. To know that it's not impossible and it's not maybe as hard as they're making it out to be.
I think it's scary, right? Like to have all of your, you know, hard work criticized or critiqued. But, you know, and there's avenues that people don't even think about, you know, like somebody with that degree possibly could teach English as a second language, right? The only problem with that is we need to make sure we would have enough students that would need that help. So you can get creative. It's just, we have to think outside the box sometimes. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely helped non-traditional teachers get certified, at least at the licensing level. You know, this program though is really geared towards those that, you know, might have a bachelor's degree and just need to go through a teacher certification program for a year, or some of them have associates and need to finish up to, you know, they're doing a traditional track. So there's so many different avenues, and we're just trying to figure out how we can support our community members, you know, because at the end of the day, if we're taking our current support staff, bringing them up so that they're teaching, then the community can then help refill the support staff positions, and we just keep it going, right? So we're constantly drawing in all of this new talent, as well as helping stabilize the talent that we currently have, so that at the end of the day, like, it's just a feeder program. We're constantly growing more people. It makes it look like we have, you know, we invest in our staff, and then that gets out to the communities, and then the communities realize how great the educators we have here, because we invest so much into them, and then they want to send their kids here. So no longer do our outlying towns want to send the kids away. Now they want to send them here, which allows us to grow, because we need more positions, because we have more students. And I think at the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal.
Awesome.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
All right, I'm turning over to Larry.
Can I just say something before? I just looked at the format for this finance and operation presentation, and I just think it's so cool. It really is very good.
Candy.
It's just really wonderful. So
Good segue.
I just wanted to give you a heads up.
From because we're going to talk about the return So this is my annual report about finance and operations, and it consists of all the departments you can see here in this report. I'll keep it short and sweet. This has been in the report portal since last week, so you'll have a copy of it if you want to read it. Another thing I mentioned last year is the vastness of this position. Is that there's so much to it, and you're going to see about human resources. Tina just spoke about that, Grow Your Own program, so I won't belabor that. But we also implemented this year Frontline Central. Central is it was allowed Tina to, and her HR assistant, Jordan Sargent, do onboarding and offboarding. We really streamlined the process. We tried to simplify the process for both the hiring managers and for team and the HR department so that everybody gets what they need. We're able to integrate with IT and buildings and grounds, so everybody has what they need, new employees. And that's a good thing this year. Buildings and grounds, as Christine alluded to earlier, we've been working with emergency services or SRO, chief of police, and soon fire department to create crisis emergency plans for each school and the SU. There's a lot that goes into it. This was requested on behalf of ESRO. And so that's what we've been working on, buildings and grounds. In addition, Jim's been a big part of that. And we finished the Mount Spenny and Weathersfield 5-year preventive maintenance and capital plans. My next job is to work to align the categories to match the state chart of accounts. I hope to get that done sometime this summer. And then move on to Heartland.
We're just getting feedback that the sound's been going in and out. I'm not playing on the phone, I promise.
That's all right. So next, business services, very busy group. Thank you to all our boards and budget committees and voters. Ed Connor specifically worked with the building principals to prepare the local budgets, and they were all adopted and passed. Our fiscal year 22 audits came back without any findings, and we put them all on the website so everybody can access them. We thank Deanna Kroll. Yeah.
Your parent.
You want me to speak louder?
Can you put the microphone closer to you? Because you're coming in and out fuzzy according to participants. Did you hear that, Lindsay?
All right, so I'll just speak louder too. Thank you to Deanna Kroll, our assistant business manager, for all the prep work she does. She's constantly reconciling all of our books, whether it's payroll and whether it's accounts payable, so that as she does that work monthly, it makes the audit process go smoother. Kylie Taft, our purchasing agent, has processed over 1,200 purchasing requests. Most of them come directly from the teachers. For fiscal year 23, Gail McCoy and Kylie have split up accounts payable, and they processed over 4,000 invoices for all our schools in the supervisory union. Moving on to IT services, we finished what I talked about last year, which was the access points and the security cameras at all the schools. We deployed over 175 access points thanks to ESSER money, and thank you to Andrew Ledoux for helping us with that. This is the biggest upgrade for connectivity in history. We have, I'd like to talk a little bit about 200 tickets to have to do with IT. First is David Lamb, loyal employee of more than 28 years, is retiring later this year. And in order to save valuable resources and meet staffing, we're going to reorganize some of the tasks and duties within and outside of IT so that we will not replace that FTE, which will save some significant money at the SU level and resources. And we know that one of the consternations at the local level is that the SU grows and grows and grows and grows. Well, that's when we work on the fiscal year 25 budget, we can at least show that there's one FTE decline there without, we hope to lose any service from the IT level. Dark fiber, we also did an E-rate RFP process, and we have signed an agreement that will double our internet speed effective July 1 from 1 gigabit per second to 2 gigabits per second, and move to a dark fiber model, which allows us to lease a model which increases the connection for each of the schools that connect to Windsor, back to Windsor into Hub, tenfold. So those connections will increase at the beginning on July 1. In fact, we already got 3 of them turned up from 1 gigabit to 10 gigabits. And all that in addition, because of the RFP process, the E-rate, at a savings of approximately $40,000 a year. So I think between the attrition I mentioned earlier and E-rate, again, this will be good news for the SU Budget Committee when they start working on fiscal year 25 as a starting point. Food services, at the request of Bill, our food service manager, Craig, is on the call, and he will provide an update on WSSU food services before I hand it back to me. All yours, Craig.
Good evening. So thanks for having me. It's been a while. I would like to say, I'll start with the good. We are full, and Christine always tells me I have to be nice, so I'm going to be nice.
I'm working on him.
We are fully staffed and we probably have one of the best kitchen staffs I've had in 20 years. So that's a huge success. I think, yeah, things are going pretty well. I believe we have built a very successful, promising, and encouraging food program in the whole district. I always say that Heartland and Wethersfield are probably a year ahead of the game, a year ahead of Windsor, but Windsor's coming up, and we're putting a lot of effort forth on continuing to build a quality program in Windsor. Staffing is huge. It's really the key to our success. We have solid lead cooks that are getting paid well, that are leading the programs well. That's a huge, that's a big step in the right direction. That was never part of the line item. And that's really important to see. Our participation in Heartland and participation is really good in Heartland and Wethersfield. We're averaging 190 students in Wethersfield on a daily basis, 185 to 90 in Heartland. Windsor K through 5 is solid. We do about 190 or like 185 or so. So it's in line. And then Windsor High School, middle school and high school, it plummets, honestly. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. There is a reason for the 9 through 12 program being light. Middle school is not bad, but high school is definitely a challenge. And I could go on for hours about the high school program, but I only got 15 minutes. So, a big highlight, a big highlight this year has been free lunch Wednesday for all employees in the whole district. I know it's been very well attended. People seem to enjoy it. I think that my intention of free lunch Wednesday is different than Christine's and Larry's. Not that it's bad, but I promoted free lunch Wednesday as a catalyst for people to come down to the dining halls, eat our quality food, see that we provide a great breakfast and lunch or a lunch every day, or 1 day a week anyways, but every day. And then hopefully it would in turn bring more staff to eat in our dining halls Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And that hasn't been the case. Maybe a little bit, but not significantly. So, like I said, I think it's a great thing. It has, it does come with a price tag that we haven't really discussed and we need to discuss. Really it's costing, it's about 50, and I don't want to get into money either, but I think it's something that you need to hear. It's about $50,000 a year. It's not a big nut. It's not huge, but it's big enough on my level.
What's costing us $50,000?
No, well, that's how much, it's pretty much how, that's how much it costs to feed the staff, pretty much. We're serving, on an average day, Monday, Tuesday, we serve probably 10 staff members in each building. On Wednesday, we serve 60 to 80. So it's, and like I said, it's nice, but I think we need to continue to promote what the real purpose is. We continue to support local farms. We buy a lot of local products. One of my goals is we need to promote it better. We're not promoting what we're our local sourcing as much as we should. But I think moving forward with a full staff, I think we'll have the ability to do that. And one of my biggest things is especially is mostly Windsor based, but we really need accountability. We put $150,000 into that dining hall last year, on brand new tables and brand new chairs and all new graphics, and it looks great. And we have the nicest looking dining hall in the state of Vermont. The biggest benefit it's been a lot quieter. Every lunch period, the kids are separated, and it has been a lot quieter, and that's nice to see. The accountability end of it is kids don't respect it as much as, I just was in there last Tuesday, kid jumped onto the table up over the partition. Christine and Larry get sick of hearing me say it, but it needs to stop. We need to make kids accountable, and there is no accountability in Windsor High School. And I've been saying it since day one. It needs to be a complete circle. It can't just happen in the dining hall. It needs to happen in the classroom. We have to stop thinking math, English, science, history, facilities, maintenance, cafeteria in a different line. It does not work. It never will work. And we have to change it. And I'm going to say it till the day I leave. We have to fix it. We shouldn't be telling kids to get a fresh fruit and a vegetable every single day in May. It's not acceptable. It needs to happen in the classroom. It takes 2 seconds. Okay, kiddos, make sure you get a fruit and vegetable. It's not that hard. High school line, they come and go as they please. There is no structure. It's hard. The first lunch line, we have probably 25 kids. That's it. We're they're coming and going. They're leaving campus. They're doing whatever they want to do. They're eating in the student services pretty much every day because they don't get exactly what they want in the dining hall. It's a big issue, and we need to fix it. So that's my rant and rave. I think we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a lot of work to do. Questions?
Well, thank you, Craig. I appreciate you stopping by. In many ways, the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Food Program is the envy of the surrounding districts. And I believe you're a big part of that. So I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your passion. So thank you.
I'd like to give a shout out to Rodney.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
He's fantastic for ABS, and I don't know where else he goes, but wow, he's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't speak to, ABS is on our, oh, another big thing is, another thing I should mention is we are having monthly meetings with each administration. So we meet with each principal, me and Rodney and the lead cook, and we talk for a half an hour about what's going on in each building and what's so that's been very nice. It's been happening for the last 4 months. And ABS is always on our radar. We're going to be bringing a fresh fruit and veggie bar. They're going to have fresh fruit and veggie bar at ABS soon. We just got to figure out spacing. But that's always been a challenge. But we have a designated lady, Wendy, that services ABS along with Rodney, and Rodney's done a great job. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Christine, to go back to the high school, what is the policy with the open campus and food?
I don't know.
It's just,
Just seniors, I believe.
Just seniors?
Just
Hudson
seniors?
Campus?
Hudson.
Is that
Oh,
Hudson? Hudson will
Seniors
know.
have had
Hudson,
open campus and went
Seniors.
to-
seniors.
Unless
Hudson
you're
is.
called out, but nobody gets called out to go get food.
What, Hudson can't hear you.
It's just seniors unless you're called out. But
Oh, okay, gotcha.
called out to get food.
They can leave campus.
Okay, so are kids bringing food or are they just not eating?
they're
Both.
not eating.
Yeah, both.
They're not eating.
Are they
Yeah.
getting it delivered from somewhere? I mean, I just.
Are
doubt
seniors
that
bringing it back to the
Yeah, I doubt kids are
underclassmen?
not eating.
No, I don't
No.
think so. I mean, I think some of them aren't eating. I think some of them wait till they get home to eat, or they bring their own, or they're sharing food. Some of them, I don't know if the lunch, I don't know if the tech center, schedule interferes. Hudson, do you know if that's the case?
Yeah, Hudson,
So-
what's going on?
No.
So it's really a combination of both. So Hartford's afternoon bus leaves around 10:45, so there's like 15 minutes of lunch for them to get a grab and go. Kids bring food from home, they don't eat, or they a lot of them will get like just, I think it's just kids are kids. But then the Hartford bus that leaves in the morning comes back and eats around, they get back at around 11, so after the first lunch is over.
So we need to work on our high school
Yeah.
lunch.
Yeah.
So Hudson, I guess I'm one of the ones that was passionate about this program when we first started it. And so, part of the big push that we had in Heartland and Wethersfield was really the community support and educating the kids. And I think Craig's right in that Heartland and Wethersfield are
They started
year
earlier.
or two, right, like, ahead. I mean, but also I think even farther ahead because we started pushing 2 years. I mean, we started pushing
Yeah.
before you were even
Yeah.
hired as a principal in Heartland.
Yep.
And so it's been a huge build up to where we are. And I guess it just feels like maybe we need to start pushing more in the Windsor community and building that support from the ground up. And I've gotta think, I mean, yes, high school kids will be high school kids, but I think that there's also a lot of kids that've got to be passionate about local foods and eating well. And if we haven't told them, or if we're not, maybe it needs to be more of a grab and go. I mean, I don't know, but like, it just really feels like we need to start engaging the kids and figuring out why we're falling short, because it's all of our food program now, and we need to all figure out how to bring Windsor up.
And
When
it's
was
it's an important piece of, I mean, the entire process of education here. So I think it definitely is worthy of
Yes.
us spending time in promoting this. And I mean, we can even look at incentives for teachers to be part of promoting this, and maybe, we'll get more staff, to participate, but it may be a great way to give teachers. I don't know, but I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's really important, the food piece for our kids and.
Especially if it's, I mean, it's free, right?
It's free.
It's free, especially if it's free.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's like a no-brainer. It's not even like it cost when we developed the program. Right. That's great.
Well, it's something to think about. The state of Vermont is really pushing this whole allowing every child universal meals, right? Is on the governor's desk right now. And there's a lot of people against it because they're, for one, the upper class are going to get something for free and they don't like that. But two is that meals have been free for the last 3.5 years, correct? Our participation has not gone up one bit. It might be a handful, but it's a small handful. So, and Windsor High School provides build your own sandwich, pizza every single day, fresh made soup every single day, fresh fruit and veggie bar every single day, 2 different options of hot food every single day. It's better food than Pizza Chef, Panera, Cumberland Farms. No, there's nobody in Windsor that serves a local ground beef burger like we do. It's not, I'm not patting myself on our own back. It's the truth. It doesn't, there needs to be structure in the building. There needs to be everybody, not everybody, but there has to be people on the same page, believing in the same purpose and idea. If a kid does not want what's for lunch, they go into student services, get a package of ramen noodle and heat it up in our microwave. That food should not be available during school hours. I've said it 85 times. It continues to happen. Student services does not support us. I don't care if she likes me or not. I'm not there for her. I'm there for the kids to feed them quality meals. So that's the reality, right? I could talk about this for hours. I'm not there to make friends.
Greg, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. See you. Thank you. Have a great.
And I think possibly we could shift this to the Mount Scottney School Board as well.
Yeah.
Because we're all on the same page with you as far as passion is.
Okay.
So I thank you for your page and your time. And I think we really need to address this.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Thanks
Greg.
a lot, Craig. Good
Yeah.
job.
All right, moving forward, just talking about some of the stuff on our plate for the next, I'd like to give you guys a preview, as I did the same thing last year when we talked about all these other things. First is a dark fiber I mentioned earlier. We're preparing for that. Obviously, the VCAT testing, the inaugural VCAT testing has been going on. The Ed5 pilot, which is to do with state reporting. In the summer, we're obviously very busy around buildings and grounds, maintenance, and IT. We're going to institute a ticketing system like we do for IT for HR and payroll. I know Christine has some priorities around an SU-wide events calendar, upgrading our switches again with some ESSER money. Communications, we want to do something in the communication space with our strategic plan and try to unify communications around the SU. Obviously, facilities forum. Cornish and Plainfield have decided to transition to a consulting model. What's up?
I don't know.
Nothing.
Elizabeth is trying to see your
Oh, I'm
screen.
sorry.
I'm on her way.
Yeah. Cornish and Plainfield, they are posting a position, and I know they've had an interview because I was on the interview committee. So they have a finalist, and we'll see what happens. As you know, we've been serving Cornish for a while, and we're going to transition as part of this attrition we were talking about to a consulting model for at least the next couple of years to eventually they'll be on their own. They're hiring a full-time FTE all for them, which we've been pushing for a while because that's what they really require when they're combined, just like how they have one superintendent.
Will that
Okay.
change what we get, we won't be getting?
We won't be well, see what happened, so what I did was I was able to make it so it's not as much of a cut from our revenue. So eventually the revenue is gonna go to zero. But for now, so it's not all in 1 year, we're gonna consult with Cornish and Plainfield, whereas for the last 2 years, we haven't had anything to do with Plainfield. We're just Cornish, so now that they're hiring an FTE, rather than doing their tickets and everything for them, we're gonna help this person, get them going on their legs. We know where all the bodies are buried in those buildings, and then let them go. So skeletons, right? Let's say skeletons. But, also in the fall, we will do service awards recognition. Many other districts around us and SUs do this, and Tina and Christine have been working a lot on this. We want to make sure that we recognize those who have been here for many years. You know, I was thinking when Craig was talking, you know, I've been working here since 2006. And I went to school at Windsor in the 90s, and the quality of the food, you know, is ridiculous compared to what it used to be. So as many of you were speaking about, the exit interview report, we will give in the fall. For those that take us up on the exit interviews, Tina will be ready to report on that. Then I already talked about what the reorg we're going to do in IT services. I hope to work with the Heartland. I know they're the one with a separate building committee, so I'm gonna have to work with them on that. We're gonna work on the fiscal year 25 SU budget in the fall. In the winter, you obviously have the district budgets, and one of the things that didn't get on my checklist that I'm gonna do next year is creating an eval system for finance and operations. So it's not just the department heads, it's many people that work in buildings and grounds, food services, et cetera. So to model that, I'm gonna create an eval system for the department heads. I'm gonna model that, and then hopefully they will do that for their employees. And then I'll update the 5-year plans if necessary. So I just wanna thank, this is obviously not a one-man show. There's many people that put in the work. Craig already spoke to it. All these people on this list here. I do my walkthroughs on Wednesday. I walk through every building, and it's great to see them doing such great work. And I know teaching is where the learning happens, but as you know, a lot of learning goes on outside of the classroom. And really want to thank everybody, and especially David Lamb for his 28 years of service to the Windsor Southeast Supervisors Union and Heartland School specifically.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry. Sorry, we're a little off schedule. We're trying really hard to be timely.
Us too.
So, items for discussion, teacher salary schedule placement.
I think you put that on there.
Huh?
Did you put that on there?
I don't remember putting it. I think we talked about possibly having, no, well, we did have to be able to talk about the school day, but not.
We're talking about people who had experience in other places and how to place them on the
Right,
on the
but that's-
scale?
Yeah, but that's all in the contract though.
Okay.
Bill, I don't know where that one came from.
Are you doing the contract negotiations right now?
We're starting.
We're starting, yes. We're trying to set up a meeting for the 25th.
25th,
Yes,
Thursday night.
to start a discussion. So I really want to do it differently.
Can we,
And
would it be
one
all
of-
right to share the contract with the SU board? Current contract?
It's
It's
right on
in
the
the portal.
website. It's on the website.
Okay.
It's in the-
Under HR.
Yeah.
How many
It's in
different, how many different, stipend categories are there? Are there many, or I have?
There are some listed in the master agreement, across schools, so that everybody has, the same, except the high school has some department heads. And then the local schools are, able to create their own stipends.
So if a teacher works in one school, could they get a stipend for a particular activity in another school?
You sure could.
Not limited to that.
What's that?
It's not limited to, the school
Right.
that you work at.
Right.
I mean, one common example would be coaching.
Yeah, right.
So that must have been what that was on the agenda, Bill. I don't know.
Which one?
Teacher salary schedule
Teacher
placement.
salary schedule, because I know that, you and I talked about it, but it
It wasn't,
would have to be in executive
Right.
session.
right.
But
We'll skip that.
I just sort of to quickly summarize, one of the huge issues I see in, that I believe would be a good step forward is to change the differential. What I mean by differential is the fact that the lowest salary cell on the schedule versus the highest salary cells. Within this area, Windsor is the highest differential. It's 100%, which is pretty incredible.
That's what you brought up at the last meeting.
And so,
the
That
differential.
was at our meeting, not the SU.
yeah,
Oh, so was that our meeting? I know it was at one of the last
Yeah.
meetings.
so that's one of the things that I hope to discuss and come up with a mutual, solution to that issue. So,
And we're starting early.
starting early, start the discussion.
Yep.
Really want to allow for a dialogue. To change the pantomime, not the
The tenor of the meeting.
Yeah, the tenor.
Yeah,
be able to take our time
Yeah.
and say, what they want, what we want, and then be able to take a break over the summer and digest it and see how we can come up with a solution.
Do you have an idea if you want a 2 or 3 year?
I would prefer a 3-year contract. I mean, that's,
I'm sure the teachers would too,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. It's a long process.
it is a long process. And the simple fact that, it's nice that we're on stacked. Because, next year is the last year of the teacher contract, and then, the year after that is the last year of the support staff contract.
I would like to request, as an SU board, that we think about adding a stipend for, there to be we haven't talked about it in the budget, but if it starts at the contract, in order for us to be able to add it to the budget, to add a, building location, a person in each building who's like the part-time or whatever you call it, counterpart to our SU-wide DEI coordinator. So there's one person who's secured in every building who's getting paid for that work. I think it would, really go far in not overstressing. Several other supervisory unions, I went to this VSBA thing last
Yeah.
week, and several other supervisory unions are doing that.
I don't think that would be much of a problem to add that to the stipend list as a
Yeah.
possibility.
Right. So, and then, we can talk about it during the budget discussions, but that's where it starts.
Other issues we have to deal with is, yes,
Is it a curriculum budget because, item, because I do pay for the team leader stipends come out of the curriculum budget.
Yeah.
So we may need to that would be an easy place to put it.
Right. Are we talking for FY '24 or '25?
this is 25.
It's gotta be
Yeah,
25.
25, yeah.
24's already been passed, yeah.
But we don't even have the person,
Right,
working for us
Yeah.
yet, so.
Okay,
yeah, okay.
thanks.
Don't have it on. Okay, VSB board replacement. It's taken us a while to get to discuss this.
So,
I guess,
For Amy. Amy was
Yes,
the rep.
yeah.
So, yeah.
and they're having, I think they're having, their regional board meetings in the next couple of weeks. So,
I guess that basically what we need to do is we need to decide who's gonna do it, and then I would contact them. And I wouldn't be thrilled to do it on some levels, but it's probably something I should do. Unless,
How often do they meet?
quarterly,
Quarterly?
I don't know how, actually, I'm not sure how often they meet together. But, you'd have to become all things VSBA.
right,
So you'd have to start attending all of the
yes,
things.
it's something I have to, that I've
I've
been
never
putting
seen you at a
off.
single,
Yeah.
a single.
Being a representative would kind of force me to read minutes.
It's good stuff. It's good. It's good.
And the other members of our region are really good.
Right.
Nancy and Hartford is.
My only hesitation is sort of the same hesitation that Davis had about certain things, is I'm finishing a master's. I'm finishing my capstone right now, so my time is a little,
Yeah, I feel that.
yeah. I got a month. I got a month to finish it, so that's sort of it.
I do just want to say that we should congratulate Davis because he just finished his.
Yes, he
But with Rebecca taking the Hartford position,
Yeah.
which kind of put me in an odd position when I was there, you know, 'cause I worked with the district, but,
Right.
But I will contact them unless anyone else wants to jump up and think so.
Is there anybody online who wants to do it? And Nancy? She raised her hand.
But
I'm making up how often they meet.
Yeah. But the honesty of it, I mean, I have made a commitment to this school board for the long haul. And so I will gracefully accept this position and move forward as a sense of responsibility and a learning opportunity, especially after I'm done with my capstone.
Yay, yay.
So I will inform them tomorrow that I will be the new representative, and I'll have to dive in.
I think we should vote on it. I think
Oh,
we have
that is
to.
probably a good idea, yeah. I will take a motion to appoint, yes,
I will nominate Bill Yates to the VSBA board.
okay.
Second.
Okay, Davis,
Hi.
Elizabeth.
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Nancy,
I.
Rebecca,
Aye.
Nikki,
You didn't vote. Aye.
who else did I think, Mark?
I,
Aye.
Thank you, Bill. Aye.
Thank you. Abstain. No, I'm an aye.
Bill, you forgot.
Jamie, you're here.
Me?
Aye.
Thank you, Jamie.
Really?
So, and I am an aye. So it is unanimous.
I'll be an I too.
Anne Marie, I'm sorry. I had a picture of it. You didn't die. Thank you. Okay. Board role in curriculum adoption process. This question came up. Angie had a good question about, you know, what position, what role do we want? And I've put some thought into it, and so I'll say what I think, and then I'd be very interested to see input from other people. I think the role I would like as a board member is to, you know, to be informed, you know, what's coming up. monetary, what sort of money are we spending on it? What sort of data is supporting it? What sort of timeline it's gonna roll out as? And then for us to, I'm not necessarily saying give our blessing, but to, I guess, give a blessing as a board. I guess that would be it. Yes? What else?
I'd like to know well in advance of it being implemented,
Yes.
what's being considered. I'd like to be more than informed on what we're piloting and instead know what options we're looking at and what research has been done on it.
That's,
When we say,
that was my meeting as well. When
when
I
we
mean
say the
informed,
research
not
supports it,
as,
I'd like to know what the research is that supports it.
right, the data. What's the data behind it?
Who owns the company?
What
Who's putting it out there?
what need does it fill? I mean, that's a pretty big ask, but I think it's important because it's the curriculum.
That's what we do.
It's-
Yeah.
that's what we do.
We educate
biggest
kids.
part of
That's
what
our
we
job.
do.
It's the biggest part of what we do, and
Exactly.
they're questions that should be being asked anyway, so it's not.
Yeah, and those are things that should all go to parents. Like, everybody needs to know these things, and so it's not, I feel like it's a big ask, but it's not an unreasonable ask.
Right. I would, step forward or backward. I guess I agree with the word give our blessing, but I don't think that we should be the ones voting on it. Like, I think that's why we've hired a very good superintendent, because that to me feels like it's stepping on the boundaries of, we've hired Christine to do this work. And so I don't want to vote on the curriculum, but I want to know everything about it.
Yeah, I think being fully informed and having input and being able to discuss it short of
Yeah, be
short of
critical of it.
making decisions out of it, yeah, be able to have some discourse around it would make a lot of sense.
As elected officials, we are responsible for the money we spend, so.
I'd also like to know how it fits in with the education quality standards. And my confusion is that the last time we had various, before your time, the last time we had various and before your time. Yeah, before your time. Yeah.
It might be,
Different time.
it might
Before
be
2015.
2015,
It was before your time.
Yeah, as a
Yeah.
curriculum director.
as a curriculum director.
Yeah, that the last time we considered curricula, it was completely run by the board and the board did vote on it. So, and we had a series of presentations on the various curricula.
My
And-
time.
Right. It was right when I started on the school board and it made me, I think I said this last meeting, it made me really excited because the thought that, I was like, why would anybody send their kid to a high school outside of our supervisory union if we have a really great curriculum that goes from K-12? Like, if it's really good and high quality and it's being implemented by really great teachers, why would you need to send your kid outside of our supervisory union for high school? And that is partly because the board was totally engaged. I bought it. The board was totally engaged in the whole process. So, just for whatever it's worth.
I think that the curriculum, as was said, that's what we do. That's the bulk of what we do. And when other communities or parents are looking at us, that's what they're looking at. They don't see the teachers, they don't see the administration, they're looking at what's the curriculum. And so I think it's extremely important to be part of understanding, the flow of how that comes about. I also would like to know who is involved in making those decisions, are we include, so I agree with Nikki. I don't think I don't necessarily have to vote on it, but I'd like to know who's Who's part of that decision making? Are you engaging teachers in that process? Or is it just administrators? Is it just department heads? What does that process look like? Because it affects all of our kids.
And I also feel like that's the most important thing that we do, and in the past, I don't know how long I've been on the board, a while. It's never come up. I mean, we've had private conversations, but it has never been part of, regular board.
Until now.
Until now.
Right.
I mean,
Didn't we talk about it last fall in the presentation, curriculum presentation? I talked about it. It wasn't even on my radar.
Yeah. I mean, we just started though. I mean, how long have I been a board member?
Yeah, right.
Well, the other thing is that to be able to switch the pantomime of when and how you share it to the board may not necessarily be during board meetings. I mean, the last time I saw any real excitement about curriculum is at the Act 46 meetings, when they were talking about, they were talking about building a whole new,
The mountain curriculum.
the mountain curriculum.
Again, that was before our little group.
Yeah. It's been a while.
So when we talk about engaging parents, and it's hard to get community members to listen to a board meeting. But possibly if we could have it a community meeting with that, and be able to share that information for board to be included in that, to hear what's going on, as well as anyone else who wants to do it. Or if we do it during a board meeting, advertise it to the public that at this time, this is what we're looking at. But yeah, it's.
I mean, we could do it.
Yeah.
And I agree, I don't think the board needs to necessarily vote on it. I mean, some of us are education people and some of us are not. And so we don't have any business voting on it, but I would like to be included in that.
But I think we ask good critical questions.
Yeah.
And when we see it and we discuss it, it also opens that door for other community members to have access to that discourse and access to those materials, which I think is crucial.
And I think it's important for Hudson to be part of this. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's important for Hudson to be part of the discussion.
Hudson's raised his hand.
Hudson?
So, I'm not officially on the
You have to
We
talk
can't hear you.
louder.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I know I'm not officially on the SU board, but for those discussions, am I allowed to be present at the table?
He's not on the SU board, but is he allowed to be present? for
Yeah,
those
we're asking for your
discussions?
opinion.
Yes.
I will do my research and write to you all.
He will do his research. I think.
Hudson, by law, this is a public meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, you can come here. We can't kick you out,
We wouldn't want to.
and we wouldn't want to now.
By the way, are the other boards, we're working on it.
Yes, we have official student on the board in Weathersfield
Oh,
as of the last meeting, and we're
working on it.
Yeah, we're close in Heartland.
Very cool. And so, I think that's someone else.
Hudson put his hand down.
Okay. So I think that's a good start to the discussion.
And I love the idea of a community meeting, just to introduce the curriculum. I think that's very wise.
Yeah,
Next
not
time.
necessarily I want to spend the night
No, I get it.
on another meeting at the same time for something under an hour.
Yeah.
Yep. And anyone can chime in to give you guys the time that you really need to present the facts and the ideas that you have.
I mean, my suggestion would be that it's in the form of a forum instead of a meeting.
Right.
Because I think people would be more likely to come.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it also be in every town.
Could be
in
part
person.
of, it could be part of open house.
Yeah.
Could be
Yeah.
Wow.
or separate. Yeah. Just, it's hard to get people to come out. So I think of the big things that draw people in and try to leverage those meetings.
But, yeah, with the whole leap of technology, I mean, the amount of people we have on the meeting here tonight is more people than we've had in a long time.
That's true.
So, So thank you for that question.
Did you write all those things down, Angie?
But I think like having a forum also draws, community members who don't have children
Yes.
or students in the district. I know in West Windsor, we have plenty of community members who are interested in what our students are being taught.
Yeah.
Where their tax money is going.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, SU board retreat. So Christine and I discussed and talked about a August date.
August date for a retreat. And our regular meeting, I don't know, we didn't get into detail, Bill, but our regular meeting is late in August, the 28th.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
That's not gonna
It's
work,
after
school has
school starts,
started,
right?
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it should be earlier in August.
Right, yeah.
You said the 8th?
Date,
No, the
Date.
an August
Oh, good.
date.
Good.
Yes,
Let me get rid of the event I started.
What time would it start?
well, that's a good question.
Depends on.
Also, we learned, Christine and I
We
learned.
did learn a
last
lot
week
on Thursday, on Wednesday.
that board retreats have to be public and have to also have a remote option unless they are strictly training, right?
Okay.
So, they cannot be like,
You can't be setting your goals in a meeting.
you can't be setting your goals
You
in
can-
a executive session.
We can do the equity audit training, which we're planning to do. We can do the, we could do the open meeting law
Yeah,
training.
we're
fine.
good,
Yeah,
actually.
but you're,
I've got it all worked out.
we're not supposed to be deliberating
You're
on
great
goals
at listening
in,
to that. You just-
in a
You're
retreat
amazing.
unless it's a
You're
public
great.
meeting, which is, I think they're warned, they're on the website, with an agenda. Heartland is, Weathersfield is, I don't know about Montesquieu yet.
I mean, are
Ours
people
is-
interested in
ours is
having,
going to change.
say, a 3 hour in the day, go over a lot of different stuff, or?
We've previously done it in the evening.
Yeah.
It's been like 5 to 8 or something.
Yeah.
We had dinner.
With dinner,
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Would it make sense to do it on a Monday because we all keep Monday?
That would work for me.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
So if
We could even do it Monday, July 31st. To be,
We're not doing July meetings, Nancy.
so at the end of July.
Yeah. Some of us have a meeting on August 1st, so I
Yeah.
prefer not to do July 31st.
You have it on a Tuesday?
Yeah, Heartland is on
Heartland's
Tuesday.
Oh.
So it looks like we have
The first Tuesday of the month.
7th and the
Sorry.
21st are the 2 Monday options we have.
I said the 7th.
7th?
I think 7th sounds good to me.
Okay, I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
And I do like the idea of 5, because that,
Yeah.
5 to 8.
Yes.
5 to 8?
Okay.
Oop, not AM though.
And where? Do we know that?
We've done it at Windsor so we can eat, but,
We've also done it at Weathersfield.
oh, that's right, we did do it once at Weathersfield. Oh, no, we've done it a bunch.
We all
We've done it
have
at
been at
Weathersfield.
Weathersfield.
We've done it at Heartland too.
I don't remember ever having
one
a
at Weathersfield.
meeting in Heartland.
It was before your time.
Yeah, so that was a while ago. Just saying.
let's see if we can get some logistics for Heartland. I mean,
I'm not gonna argue that.
We had it in the,
Never
we've
been.
had it in all the cafeterias.
I don't,
I don't remember it in
Remember.
Heartland. Maybe it's that
It
was
was,
That's because it's
Maybe.
before all of our time.
Other
Yeah.
dining
Yeah.
service, wasn't it? Other dining service
Yeah.
did it. I thought we had the whole board there.
SU board retreat, August 7th, 5 to 8, Heartland.
we can make it work.
Okay. Oh. And do you want, me to reach out to Craig for food?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got it.
Who's coming at this time?
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Does that cover it?
Yeah.
Okay. Policy review, C5 firearms policy, first reading. I mean, this is pretty boilerplate.
Yes.
You think?
Yeah.
We're not writing our own? It doesn't even have the name of the supervisory unit in it.
I thought it was gonna be different.
Well,
Rendering translate.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty normal.
Where do you put the 21st? What do you think?
If it's better for everybody else.
I mean, my question,
I
I
didn't know
mean,
they-
granted firearms, but, I mean, do we have a policy for weapons?
That's what my question was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we do.
We just went over one
Yeah,
Yes.
recently.
Yeah,
like the simple fact is, a firearm policy is required.
Yeah.
I don't think we can roll them all in together,
No.
because this is based upon a federal law.
And it talks about expulsion, but it also talks about a case-by-case basis. And then it talks about, maybe being in school, but, on site, but away from everybody else. And I wasn't sure, is that part of the exceptions, or is that the rule? I don't know.
I think that's providing, if you're going to, I think it's an option if a student has brought a weapon to school and still educate them while they're not in the building.
Right.
As a consequence.
Yeah, student who's unaware. That's not an uncommon thing in Vermont. I should have
say.
fifth
Hunting
grader
knife.
once bring in a 30-30 shell and just come up and hand it to me. I'm sorry, I was hunting with my dad. I brought it by accident, so I said, thank you.
I recall when I was at Windsor School back in the early 2000s, I think somebody had their rifle just in their car rack and forgot about it. I mean, it does happen.
It is, so.
Yeah.
I think this is just, guidelines to help us, to help sort of guide what the,
Punishment would be?
no, what the, guide the case by case, it's not guidelines, but what may apply in a case by case consideration.
So in the portal, we currently have a firearms policy. Is it revised in 2019?
Was it more expensive than this? Cause this seems,
No, it's not.
oh, so it's just enough, this,
It looks pretty close to the exact same thing.
okay.
We don't
I
have,
thought it looked pretty close.
yeah.
Does this mean if someone has a firearm, even in your car or whatever, that they have to be exposed?
No, that's why
That's
the,
the case by case.
that's why the 4 bullet points there.
Okay, that's modifying the expulsion. Okay,
Yeah,
Expulsion
it gives
on
some
a
leeway.
okay, good.
circumstance such as. I don't know, I think it would be good for us to add this at first reading, maybe I haven't read the old one, to look at them back, because if we have a firearm policy, then,
We do.
right, so, of course we do, but is this replacing it or what's the difference?
Sounds like they're,
I mean, I'm reading them both at the same time. They look pretty close.
Anything different when I compare them.
Yeah.
it just says VSBA reviewed, and so maybe they didn't change it.
I don't know about you, but I can't read the top.
No, I'm reading the bottom.
Oh, I know, but the firearms, the adoption notice,
Yeah.
This text
This
box
text
and the
may be a
disclaimers
disclaimer and should be
are-
removed prior to adoption.
Yeah, it's
okay.
yeah, it's rendered weirdly.
So we do have this policy.
So,
So I don't think you have to adopt it again.
Yeah, okay.
It's like the exact same.
It looks exactly the same to me. Megan, you
Megan.
read it too?
I read it too.
Exactly the
I
same.
looked at other schools like Hartford's and other areas, and they,
a lot of them combined weapons and guns, but it sounds like we have a separate one for that. That was the only difference I saw in other places.
Christine, do we have a place to say that we reviewed it?
Just re-adopt it.
Yeah, we can just re-adopt it.
Yeah.
Be current.
Do we have to have 2 readings to re-adopt or?
No.
Okay.
So if
Remember
it's
when we
active,
did
that massive, well, yeah, I remember that, but we did all of those ones, right.
I just wanna make sure that we're not just like, okay, we have this check, and then it says 2019 when it was actually 2023.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I want the checkbox.
So we'll have Lori update the date if you adopt it tonight.
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, I make a motion, oh wait, we can't do that yet.
E1, Title I, Part A, LEA Parents and Family Engagement Policy. Not required. The only thing I'm concerned with is, Christine and I talked about this, the simple fact that in a policy, if we're having a required open house, and we have no contractual requirement for staff to come. So who is gonna man the open house? So, but that's the only thing that really popped out at me, like, okay, we have to man this, what do we have to do? But I think that's something we need to address, along with other things in this upcoming contract negotiation. How are we going to get staff to participate willingly in IEP meetings, back to school nights and things like that, when the contract language is a little fuzzy. Okay, it's very fuzzy. It's basically.
It's non-existent.
I just have one.
It's not that it's non-existent, it's just the part of it that really was effective went away.
Yeah.
The only thing you have is that administrators can assign 1 or 2 nights for parent conference meetings.
Yes.
So that's just not, that doesn't cover that. Elizabeth?
I just have one comment in that it's just about our policies in general. And that is, if you're gonna use acronyms after the first reference, then please put the acronym in parentheses after first reference. So for example, a continuous improvement plan is in it, and then it's referred to as CIP.
In the policy itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that APA?
What's that?
Is that APA?
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about APA, do you?
So they did that somewhat throughout the policy.
The American Psychiatric
They weren't
Association,
consistent.
citation guidelines and like style guide.
You're doing research.
Yeah.
And
research.
The rules he's looking, when you look at a textbook, why it looks the way it does. It's true, that's what people need to know.
Engineer wrote it.
College professors sitting here, that's what I used to tell people. read your
This is
textbook.
our second reading?
No, it's the first.
No, it's the first read.
Okay. So, I read it.
There were actually 34 pages.
Yeah, it's a long one.
You didn't have to, I copied it, but the rest are just forms for the different.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, they're-
Yes.
Different engagement policy documents.
Oh,
So
This
it's
is
got to be. Yeah, that's all we
to be
need.
quick, yeah.
Why is this so absurd?
Yeah.
We see
Why is
something
it so absurd? It's the federal
It's the
government.
federal government, we don't have a choice.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's the feds.
That's why Andy's been at all the local meetings going over the.
Well, I knew that. I
I
didn't
think
know
I've seen this before.
I know.
No,
it
did,
talks
I had
about
to
that.
revise it, it was
Yeah.
not the correct format, we actually adopted it in, y'all adopted it in February, I think was the first
Yes.
final
Yeah.
reading. So yeah, no,
the wrong
good thinking, yeah, it was the wrong one.
Okay, no, this, I was gonna say,
So,
it looks a lot nicer.
All
than
the
that one.
extra stuff on the bottom is basically for us as we're implementing.
Yeah, it's just
Thanks, Ray.
tools. Got it. The first 10 or so pages there.
Oh, okay.
Any other comments other than that's just obnoxiously
It's just
obnoxious?
Really, there's more to
It's
it,
obnoxious.
so it's relevant.
It's just.
If not, we can move on. C22,
Cool.
new student activities, combining C22 and C23, second reading.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that came up with in Hartford, talking about, athletic student clubs and whether or not to, require them to have, doctor checkups, physicals,
Oh,
or not, participate in
is a physical required?
for
for every- I
VSBA.
mean, for a
And,
student yearly physical
um,
to go to school?
To play
no,
sports,
to
not.
play sports, yes,
The DPA requires a minimum
Yeah.
of 2 years.
2 years. A lot of schools, Hartford included, has switched to every year, just because it made it so much easier for parents to remember. Because parents would be often be like, oh, we did this last year, no, we did it 2 years ago. Besides the fact, you know,
Their students change a lot.
a lot. There's
Of
a
course, in
huge
2 years.
amount of
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
for, grades 6 through 12. So they just require it every year, and it is, I'm working with the AP on, online registration, so that's why I get involved with this. But, from their perspective, it just saved a lot of hassle for parents and school staff.
Does it seem, I know access to healthcare, like
Yeah,
doctors
I
right
don't
now.
see this as saving parents' houses.
Yeah, it's really, really hard to get appointments, so
In any
That
sort
would-
of timely manner.
that would be my concern of doing it to year. I'd be interested to see if that affects that, because it's really hard.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, though, Hartford is in the center of the medical world
Right.
in the Upper Valley,
Yeah, but
so.
this doesn't mean you can get an appointment.
No, it doesn't mean that, but it
I
is.
have that problem. Yeah.
I am
My daughter
not
has had her
advocating
teeth
that
cleaned in
this
2.5
school district goes to that. I'm just saying that was something that we
That would
did,
just be my concern.
but,
So we don't require a yearly,
physical,
checkup? Yeah.
This-
Go to school.
yeah.
That's interesting.
VPA, interscholastic sports.
No, not even sports, just that the child has to have a
That's a
doctor's.
burden. You're not gonna keep the kid out of school
No,
and say
but
you can't go to school because you didn't have a physical.
I think it was required in Rhode Island. We always, because I remember everyone getting one in August. Yeah.
They might have changed it too.
Elizabeth?
I'd love to know what Hudson thinks about this. Hudson,
Yeah,
are you
just-
still here?
Yeah, let me focus away from the sports aspect of it. I'm not getting anywhere there. But just the club,
I don't see him anymore.
Oh, darn.
overall, this was pretty comprehensive.
It spells it out.
Yeah. And even to the point of, defining what sort of activity it is, depending on who is sponsoring it.
Hudson's not here. Oh.
No, I don't think he's here.
Yeah, I think he took off.
Open the window.
I'm sorry.
It is hot in there.
We're dying over. I'm looking at his face is getting redder. I'm just gonna leave the room. Thank you.
Do they have screens?
Some do, some don't.
It kind of does.
I'm afraid to touch it.
And Mabel pushes her nose against it, it's usually safe.
Oh, it falls.
Oh, well, just make sure no one's out there.
But it's, again, it hits towards procedures in here. In a couple different places. Like this principal or superintendent may set standards for academic eligibility for participation. I don't know.
Yeah, I worked on the procedures for this.
Yeah.
I pretty much took them right from the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think good.
Any comments, concerns?
Things addresses the things we would want it to address.
Yeah.
I'm not, nothing's jumping out at me as being a major issue with it.
A22, notice of non-discrimination. Lori or Tina that had the question, I think it was Lori, about body type, body.
Yeah, we talked about it last time and we we're trying to come up with a word.
All I can think of was body type.
Yeah.
Physical aspect.
You could say physical attributes or appearance. I mean, that I think is that feels like it would fit.
Physical appearance?
Yeah, physical attributes or appearance.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's more sensitive than body type. But
Yeah.
that's-
I agree.
That's what usually is, that's a term that's usually used in articles or social media. It would not be my preference.
Okay. Physical attributes.
Okay, yeah. Oh, no.
And other than that,
It's fine.
yeah.
Okay, I'll have her change that.
The other thing that, I sent out today, as well as Lauren emailed me, I apologize, she thought she had put it in the SU site, the Colchester, example.
Yep. I'm seeing it.
And I think going through Colchester's, I think it's important for us to have a policy.
Thank you, Megan, for finding this for us.
Thank you, Megan. And it's a
This would
really,
make things so much easier and for years to come.
and it is really a solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember them working through this.
Yeah. And I'm sure they had a hard time working for it, so I'm very happy to take their templates.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I liked how student forward was
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the thing that stood out to me the most too, is that it really centers student interest articulation as the main driver of this.
As well as laying out the purpose of the flagpole.
Yep.
What its main intention is, and then what it can be used for. And that it clearly gives the responsibility to the school board, which those of us who have been on the Mount Scotty School District for several years, this would have really taken care of some past issues.
Oh, we've only ever had one flag request, and that was for the Ukrainian flag.
I think
recently.
Hudson just wanted to raise the pride flag.
I know, but historically speaking, as long as I've been on the board, there's only been one flag request.
And according to Amy, that was the only one I think that in her tenure we got.
Yeah.
That takes us back 15 years.
I really like their format for dates of warned first reading, second reading, third reading, and adoption.
What else can we take from Colchester?
Oh, yeah, I see that.
No, that is good though.
You
I
like
like
that
that
at the bottom?
Warned.
On the end of each page, it's on the end of page one.
Yeah.
There's another
Well, we don't
one
have
from
dates of
Colchester.
all of the
we used.
readings.
Yeah, we
we
do.
do. It's on
Oh, we
the
do?
top.
Yeah,
On the
okay,
top.
it's on the top.
We don't have date warned.
We don't have date warned.
First reading, second reading, third reading, date adopted.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think it's,
They didn't have to-
No, I
it's a
know.
good policy.
Do you want,
It's too late for me to actually take control. I'm too tired. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay, so is it possible let's
Yes.
ask Lori to sort of change
so we'll
this into.
put this one into, and
Yes.
bring it back for a first reading next time?
Yes.
Excellent.
Okay.
Awesome.
You got it.
Okay, items for action, A22, notice of non-discrimination.
Maybe that'll also encourage flag requests.
Should
be kind of cool.
And I think, yeah, and then we had another one we wanted to look at.
Oh, you did, okay, I didn't.
No.
Firearms.
No, yeah, firearms.
I think
Firearms
we're just
and
gonna move
No, we're not
forward.
gonna vote on that. I don't think. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have to vote on it in order to
Yes,
change the
okay.
date. We don't need to read it again.
Right, okay,
Bless you.
so, in one fell swoop, I will take a motion to approve C5 firearm policy and A22, notice of non-discrimination.
So moved. Davis.
Okay. so
Second.
Do it once. Any discussion? Okay, start with online. Colleen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jamie
Aye.
and Mark? Mark. Anne Marie.
Aye.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Davis.
Aye.
Elizabeth.
Aye. Megan Reed.
Megan.
It's too late. It's
No,
falling apart.
no, I mean, that's my dyslexia. I've been practicing her name all night. And so, of course,
It goes away at night.
yeah, it does go away.
Words go away at night.
Yeah.
I get you.
You're tired.
Nancy.
Aye.
Rebecca.
Aye.
Nikki.
Aye.
Mark. Okay. Mark's.
Aye.
Thank you, Mark. Okay.
Good save,
It's
Mark.
unanimous.
Yourself.
And I'm an aye.
Excellent.
Did you get Jamie?
Hmm?
Yeah.
And B, we voted on, SU
Yeah.
board member, that's me.
We'll do
And we
the vote on-
determined the date of the SU.
Bill, may I make
Yes.
Larry reminded me that he's on vacation now.
I'm sorry, I had to step
Seven.
out for
The date we
Phone call.
chose for the retreat. So
It's vacation?
and Katie.
he's gone, yeah,
And
and Katie.
I wrote it in pen.
I'm sorry.
And I will,
If,
No.
Yeah, well,
I'll be
it is what
literally
it
off
is.
the grid.
You'll be gone.
I'll be
Yeah.
off the grid.
So the other Monday was the 21st. We've got Mount Scottney on the 14th.
Yeah, the 21st is our other Monday option. We're just sticking with
Our
Mondays.
other Monday option.
I won't be able to make the 21st. I am taking my child to RIT to go to college, so won't be here.
August 7th works for everybody. Then, I can do a remote. I'll talk to, find a spot somewhere.
You can be basketball camp, right?
Yeah, but they'll let me out of this.
You okay with that?
I mean, I'm okay with it. I really want far away. You should.
Go far away.
You know the time?
Fine.
5 p.m.
Today you won't get dinner, but you want to eat.
Larry, I'll have that for you. Leave of absence request.
Reading still on.
I'm here. Hi.
This is Megan Thomas, who's an interventionist at Heartland. And she has a.
She's a Title I
Title I,
interventionist,
yeah.
that's why she's coming to the SU board.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Regan, are
I'm ready. So my name is Regan Thomas. I am an academic interventionist at Heartland. This is my second year at Heartland. I work with second, third, and fourth graders. I think around December, I had decided that I was not going to return to Heartland as I was going to take a year to travel. And pretty shortly after I had put in my request, I realized I didn't want to fully leave. I have built a lot of really meaningful connections at Heartland. And so I did some brainstorming on how I could still go on this trip that I've been planning. And the main purpose of my trip was to go and learn more about teaching English as a second language. I think, as you all know, we have some more English language learners at our school, and I have begun working with them. And although I have definitely found some successes, I also know that I need to build my knowledge base around that. And so I'm hoping to complete a program in Barcelona. It takes about 8 weeks to complete, and I'm hoping to go from the end of September until mid-December. So I'm formally requesting a short leave of absence so that I can pursue that course.
And short meaning, the first half of the year, or you're talking about the whole year?
No, just from the end of September, so I'd be able to start the school year. So the first half, I would be there from until the end of September, and then I'd be returning mid-December.
Lindsay, trying to read your name with my reading glasses off.
Oh, we can't
Lindsay,
hear
we
you.
can't hear you.
Christine?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, better. Guess the headphones, they don't work, huh? I just wanted to take a second and just say that I would fully support Regan's attempt in doing this. When she came to me with the idea of wanting to find a way to stay at Heartland, I was thrilled. She is an incredible asset to our team, and we would be truly wouldn't miss her if she was gone permanently. So I would definitely support any way that Regan could continue to be in our wonderful staff.
I also just want to say that, you know, it's so hard getting into teachers nowadays. I mean, you can, yeah, you know, I mean, it's a great opportunity.
So this is Spanish.
Yes,
Yeah, there's a huge need in the Upper Valley, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know Spanish is close. Yeah. I mean, there's some similarities.
Yeah. Okay, vote. Yes. Colleen,
Aye.
Jamie,
Aye.
Anne Marie,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye. Aye. Did that register?
It did.
and I am an aye. So, enjoy your learning experience. I applaud you for, taking on challenges and life experiences.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
For hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Thank you for wanting to come back.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. Setting the next agenda
For June,
for June.
right?
Yes.
So we've got the meeting in June, we're gonna take July off, and we're gonna have a retreat in August, is that?
Yes.
Okay, so I have, authority to hire, I think would be important if we're not meeting in July. If
Yeah,
you're, okay, for me to do that. I think, Bill, and maybe refresh me, I wrote down last time something about busing. Did you bring that up?
Oh, yeah, that was a parent at
Parent.
the Manascutney
Oh,
district
yes.
who wanted to.
Oh,
Yeah, and I know, at the Mount Scotty meeting, I do know that parent, and I see her out and about frequently in the community. I will speak to her in person when I see her. It's a particular challenge. I was on the other side of that route growing up, at County Road, and that
Yeah.
bus number 3 goes, well, it used to be bus number 3, goes up around County Road, comes out of Heartland, and comes down Route 5. So depending on if you're
Yeah,
going
yeah.
home or getting up, it is a pain in the butt. It's a
One of
long
those.
ride. It's been the way it is for 25 years. It's not a reason to continue it, but I know that the principals are looking at the routes, and they're gonna get those routes to Christine, and I'm gonna make sure that everything
We
is
do the
taken care
best we
of.
can, yeah.
And we're adding a third bus for Mount Scotty next year.
Nice.
So I will not put that on the agenda, then it sounds like Larry's addressing
I will
it.
speak to that parent.
Okay,
Possibly if Larry could just give us a
update,
2-minute update.
Yep.
About what he finds out.
bus update?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd
we
be
can do
great.
that.
Thank you, Larry.
I have Title I, Part A would be second read. Student activities would be third read for next month.
And,
Flag
first
parade.
And the
first
flag,
read.
and the flag, yeah. Okay.
I've got a question. Yeah. Is there a way that we could get a list of all of the things that our teachers and staff are being trained on?
Angela?
Mm-hmm.
We've got that. We've done that.
Like all in one place?
Yes. Would you like that
Yeah.
next, in June?
Yep, and I'd love to know what's annual and
Oh, yeah.
what's upon hiring and what, you know, when things are refreshed or.
What do I
if they're
call
refreshed.
that? What do I call that on the agenda? What did you say originally? I lost the word.
Hiring training and required scheduled
Required
trainings.
Okay.
Because we have the foundational trainings for new hires. And then we also have like this year's trainings, what we're focusing on for all staff.
And new trainings, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
it's not
too.
even necessarily something that we have to devote a lot of time to on the, I just really love to see the.
Yeah, it's come up and we're trying to be really cognizant of not overloading our teachers. So Angie did a great job, getting everything in a document that's easy to read and it's pretty clear. We presented it to the faculty advisory council, to the union leadership, just to kind of show. And kudos to Angie and her team for being forward thinking, planning it all out. So,
I'd like to touch base on negotiations.
Okay.
Just sort of, this first meeting is gonna be pretty informal, but I feel more comfortable having the board appoint the negotiation leader for the,
so that would be an action item.
yes.
Okay. You've got it.
I mean, last time we just decided amongst ourselves. Yeah, through and, Christina discussed having her take a much different role than.
Yeah.
I had a couple of things that I wanted to ask you to put on the agenda, and now I didn't bring my sticky note with them on it, but would it be all right if I?
Yeah, just email.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, that is my voice in the background. At least I think it's her. Okay, is there a need for an executive session? Okay, thank goodness.
Right.
I will take a motion to end the meeting. Nikki is, aye.
To go back to work.
Oh my goodness.
Second.
Marcus second. Okay, let's whip through this.
That was Davis.
It was Davis.
That was Davis. Not Mark. You said Mark. It's okay.
Did I say?
Yeah. You're tired.
Davis, I'm gonna ask you to vote.
Aye.
All in favor? Elizabeth,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Rebecca?
Aye.
Nikki?
Aye.
I am an aye. Colleen?
Aye.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Okay, another thing that we learned, or I learned, I don't know if you learned it or not.
I learned a lot. Great training.
The VSBA, meeting the other day was that when you have and we'll talk about this at our retreat, but
Yeah.
when you have a meeting where it's, hybrid, if more than half of the board is present, you can do a voice vote unless you want the voice,
Right.
vote recorded.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
That's good.
Good to know.
All right.
I'll be learning all these things.